Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lounging with Lo. I'm your host, Lo. Today is going to be a great day for this podcast to talk about the 90s, 2000s Christmas movies. Now, this is the era that I grew up in. This is going to be exciting. So we have a lot of movies to cover on this podcast, but I want to make one more quick announcement. Here, I will be again starting a new podcast in January about the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. You do not want to miss out on this wonderful opportunity to learn about God's Word. I will get more information about the podcast and when it will be live. Now, back to the main event of this episode. Please remember that if you have not seen any of these movies, there will be some spoilers. I think everybody knows this first movie and maybe the sequel to this one. It's Home Alone. Now, Home Alone is from 1990 and it stars Macaulay Culkin, Joe Pesci, and Daniel Stern. So this is about a little boy who gets left behind when his family goes on a European vacation. And he must save his house from being burglarized. Now, I believe everyone who has seen this movie knows the iconic scream of Kevin putting aftershave on his face and screaming. But all in all, it is a really good heartfelt movie to watch with your family, even after the holidays. And then 2 years later, in a sequel, it happened again to Kevin, but this time he took the wrong flight and ended up in New York while everyone else went to Florida. Again, another heartfelt movie and some more laughs along the way. Now, also in 1992, the Muppets decided to do their adaptation of A Christmas Carol along with Sir Michael Caine, who played the iconic character Ebenezer Scrooge.
Well, Scrooge, God save you.
Merry Christmas. Bah. Humbug.
Now, obviously, everybody knows the story of A Christmas Carol, and how Ebenezer Scrooge came to be the old miser that he was, and how he's able to change his life after visiting three spirits. But, you know, there are different movies that play off of this story, but the Muppets did it well because they made it fun. According to IMDB, Sir Michael Caine said that this was one of his memorable roles. I think that's what I remember from A Christmas Carol. That's the first thing I ever saw was this version of the movie. So, we're about midway to the 90s here, 1994. We had two great movies that came out of this era. Miracle on 34th Street and The Santa Claus. So let's talk about Miracle on 34th Street for just a few minutes here. So this movie stars Richard Attenborough, Elizabeth Perkins, Mara Wilson, and Dylan McDermott. So for those of you who have never seen this movie, this is about a 6-year-old little girl who is skeptic about a gentleman who thinks he is Santa Claus. And how a lawyer is setting out to prove that the gentleman, Mr. Kringle, is the real Santa Claus. Now, obviously, if you guys didn't know this is a remake of a 1947 movie, and they re-released it in 94 so that new generation of movie watchers can enjoy it as well. So again, in 94 we had The Santa Claus. Now again, The Santa Claus stars Tim Allen, David Krumholtz, who plays the genius from Numbers, and Eric Lloyd. He plays the son in Santa Claus. He plays Charlie. Now, The Santa Claus is about a divorced father who gets a second chance with his son after Santa falls from the roof and he must take over for Santa. You know, that's pretty... How would you feel if somebody brought Santa down from the roof and then you have to take over his job? That's not an easy job. But here's an interesting fact about this movie. This is the very first movie that Tim Allen has a lead role in. Now, obviously, he was in Home Improvement, but he was like the star of that as well. But that's for a TV series. This is for a movie. And he went on to do other movies, but we could talk about Tim Allen in another podcast episode. So now we move on to the year 1996, where two other movies came out, Jingle All the Way and The Preacher's Wife. Now, let's talk about Jingle All the Way. It stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, Rita Wilson, the late Sinbad, and Jake Lloyd. Now, if you've never heard the name Jake Lloyd, that's Anakin Skywalker from The Phantom Menace, by the way. The 9-year-old. Jingle All the Way is about a father who goes to every toy store to find the very popular action figure by the name of Turbo Man for his son. But then he discovers something even better. His son's love. There are some funny moments in there, and then some heartfelt moments in there too. So another piece of trivia is that most of Sinbad's lines were improvisations. And it fit well with his character, so they left it in the movie. You know how Sinbad's, that witty person and just likes to, make people laugh. That's what they did with this movie. Now, The Preacher's Wife. I love this movie. I like this movie a lot. And it's about a pastor of a church who has doubts. What pastor doesn't? And when he asks for help, an angel came to help. He wanted to help him believe in himself, again, as a pastor for his church and his community, a father to his son, and a husband to his wonderful wife. Now, this movie stars Denzel Washington, who plays Coach Boone from Remember the Titans, Courtney B. Vance, who plays the pastor, and he's also been in SVU. Oh, I'm sorry. No, not SVU. Criminal Intent. The Law & Order Criminal Intent series. Jennifer Lewis, she plays the mother. And the iconic and late Whitney Houston. If you're a big Whitney Houston fan, I recommend watching this movie. It's just an amazing. The music's wonderful. Her singing just brings joy to everyone. It's just... Oh, and our church this past Sunday just did one of the songs from the soundtrack. So, just a little shout out there. But, the music's wonderful. And The Preacher's Wife is actually a remake from the 1947 movie The Bishop's Wife. And that starred Cary Grant, Loretta Young, and David Nevin. David Nevin played the bishop. Obviously, Loretta Young played the bishop's wife, and Cary Grant played the angel. Now, here's another piece of interesting trivia that you guys didn't probably know about either. Jennifer Lewis and Whitney Houston have done 2 Disney films. Not together, obviously, but they have done, they have been in the Disney films. So, The Princess and the Frog was Jennifer Lewis. She was one of the, I think she was like Mama something from Princess Frog. And Whitney Houston played the fairy godmother in Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella with Brandy, Whoopi Goldberg, Paulo Montalban. Wonderful. Okay, guys, we're almost there, my faithful listeners. Before we finish the 90s, I just want to remind everyone again that I am on TikTok, Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Facebook. If you want to follow me, my podcast link to the major streaming services is on my Facebook page as well if you want to come and listen. Now, let's finish the 90s up, guys. So, in 1997, there is a cute animated movie named Annabelle's Wish. And that stars Randy Travis, Rue McClanahan, of all people, who passed away a few years ago. Didn't even know that. Cloris Leachman, and Jerry Van Dyke. Now, this story is of how a young calf and a mute boy that become friends, and the young calf's wish to become a reindeer. This is a heartwarming take of how there is unselfish love, and every time all I had to do is just mention these two words, Annabelle's wish, my mom just immediately starts to well up and almost start crying. But it's in a good way because of that tale of unselfish love from the story. It's got comedy in it, it's got heartfelt moments, it's got a little bit of sad moments in it, but I'm telling you, this is a good movie to watch with your family. So I just recently, a few weeks ago, or maybe a couple weeks or so ago, watched a movie called A Christmas Carol, but it has Sir Patrick Stewart as Ebenezer Scrooge. And it also has Ian McNeice, Joel Grey, and Richard Grant. Now, this adaptation of A Christmas Carol came out in 1999, and in my opinion alone, I believe that Sir Patrick Stewart did an amazing job playing Ebenezer Scrooge, and it was all because he was able to take Scrooge and make it his own. It's because of the way that he was speaking and the way that he was able to pause in between his speaking and make it dramatic because of that theater background that he has. Oh, it's just amazing. I think he's one of my top favorite Ebenezer Scrooges. I think I've got 3. Right now, it's Michael Caine. Not as my top, but he's on my list. Sir Patrick Stewart and Jim Carrey. We're going to talk about Jim Carrey later on in part 3 of my podcast. But here's another interesting piece of trivia here, guys. Did you guys know that the depictions of the Scrooge character was actually meant to be bald? Yeah, I didn't know that either. So the only people who did not have bald hair at the time was George C. Scott, I'm sure who everyone relates to as Ebenezer Scrooge from his adaptation of A Christmas Carol. Same thing with Albert Finney. And again, Sir Michael Caine. They had either white hair or gray hair when they played their version of this character. So Sir Patrick Stewart was true to the character. Okay, guys. We are going to end with the one movie that is so well known in the year 2000 and is one of my personal favorites that I could watch all year round. It's Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas with the amazing actor Jim Carrey playing the miser Grinch character.
Now about those who's inviting me down there on such short notice. Even if I wanted to go, my schedule wouldn't allow it. 4 o'clock, wallow in self-pity. 4:30, stare into the abyss. 5 o'clock, solve world hunger. Tell no one. 5:30, jazzercise. 6:30, dinner with me. I can't cancel that again. 7 o'clock, wrestle with my self-loathing. I'm booked. Of course, if I want the loathing to 9, I could still be done in time to lay in bed, stare at the ceiling, and slip slowly into madness. But what would I wear?
Also starred with Jim Carrey was Molly Shannon. She played the mother Betty Lou Who. Bill Irwin, he played Lou, the mailman. Christine Bernansky, who was Martha Mayhew. And this is Taylor Momsen's very first film in here as well when she was little. She played Cindy Lou Who. Now, Jim Carrey, been watching some of the commentary from my DVD and things like that, he had to endure a lot to play the character, especially the makeup, and they used yak fur that made up his costume. Now, I don't know if you guys know this either. This isn't in my notes, but I want to let you guys know this. It takes 8 hours for him to put all that costume on to make sure the colors blended within the makeup. The yak hair in every strand is where it's supposed to be. So he couldn't endure that a lot of the time. So what he had to do was someone who was trained in the CIA for torture came in and taught him how to control it. I don't know if you guys knew that. Now, another interesting fact about the wonderful actor Jim Carrey is that this film was one of is the second high-grossing film that he has been in since starring in Batman Forever in 1995. So guys, we have a lot more movies between 2000 and present day, but I want you to stay tuned to hear the conclusion of the Christmas movie podcast series. But for now, I want to wish all of my listeners and all of my followers and all of my social media a very Merry Christmas. Until we meet again, let us lounge together, and I can't wait for our next encounter together. Thank you so much, guys.